you've got to give them some of your insight too. That's the thing. You don't just show them like, here's the document, you read it. You give them a little bit of insight saying, okay, I'll be honest here. This isn't exactly going to be within your interest, but here's some things you can also do to get that into your peak of interest here. Like you
Yeah.
could do point A or point B here. If that doesn't work, you can try something else.
Thank you, Grace. That's really important. I was kind of joking about the PDF, but I think every teacher in this room appreciates that right now, to hear that, getting a little bit of our voice in there is okay, right? It's okay. Elizabeth, would love to hear from you. You just mentioned something about teaching student emotional intelligence, starting with empathy. So I'm going to let Dr. Williams and Ken off the hook with my very pointed question. But Elizabeth, would love to get your feedback on how you would approach it. Yeah, we're coming back to you on that.
Good
Elizabeth.
evening, everyone. I just think that with this whole speech about proximity, I think it's definitely a starting point. But like, I work with students who come from international, who have actually left, their refugees, right, with their families, that they've come to America for a safe haven, and then for them to encounter, and even though it didn't happen here in New York City, like, they're still my students are shocked and they're scared and they don't know what's going to happen. And I think it also has to deal with the fact that they don't have the history, like the background knowledge of the dark history of America and what the government, what the laws are. And so I think it's just also giving them that comfort of letting them know that we're all in this together. Like, I'm US born, but my fears, we're sharing the same fears. So I think it's just speaking about our emotions and helping them identify them, because many of these students sometimes, especially with high school students, I find that they become introverts, and they don't really voice how they're feeling. They internalize it, and especially now, because we're not in school, we're actually teaching virtual, so they don't have their friends that they can speak to about this. And so I was actually reading an article saying that to do breakout rooms and actually give students the choice, like, do you want to talk about it as a group, or you rather speak to a friend in a breakout room, or write down your thoughts, like. So I think it's making sure that the students identify their emotions.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And I think that's so important, because I think a lot of people in this room tonight teach students who are coming from places where this is not just triggering for Americans, it's triggering if you coming from a place trying to escape that kind of madness, right? And I think what I'm also hearing from people is there is no key. So I just asked for the magic key. And I think the magic key essentially is, you need to get to know your students in the beginning. You need to know your audience, essentially, build relationships with them, and not just bring up what's going on in the world today when something happens in February. You need to be talking about this from the beginning.